Okay. I believe this is a quadruple ekphrastic poem I'm about to read. But let me read something first here. This is from Seamus Heaney's poetry book, Sweeney Astray, and there's this one line: ice scoured by winds, watery shadows from weak sun, shelter from the one tree on a plateau. And that picture that was on where that poem is here on the front as a black and white photograph of an interpretation of that. So I decided to do a painting of that photograph. So that's like the triple stage of this thing, going from poem to photograph to painting. And then my friend Catherine Chantel asked me to write a poem for her book launch, which was 2 nights ago, Wednesday, in Floyd. And then I ran into her at the farmer's market in town after I had written the poem, and she goes, "You've got 3 minutes." And I go, "My introduction is 3 minutes." So the title of this poem is Shelter from the One Tree on the Plateau. And I just wanted you to know, this is what Judith and I do. We go into museums and just sit in front of paintings and make up poems. That's what I've just done here. So, Shelter from the One Tree on the Plateau. And this is for Seamus Heaney, the poet. He had a voice that could ring a church bell far off in another parish, soft and so gentle. It floated on the air. Sometimes folks still hear it. It was that soft. He used words I never heard before. I never cared what they meant. I liked the way they sounded. Some of them left a taste in my mouth. I wondered sometimes how a fella could be so gentle and have such a wild imagination. I mean, sometimes his poems scared us. And what would the priest say? Seamus would come in from the fields with that far-away look, and the rest of us bumbling off to church like a bunch of sheep. We knew where he'd been, and it was where he'd always go, where the wild wind blows his notebook to and fro, and he would snatch something out of the air. He was a proper guy, but his hair was never neat. We knew he was going to be one of those studious types, the likes of which the rest of us would never be. What we loved the most was that we could see ourselves in the words of his poems. Our scraped knuckles and shite on our boots when we came in and took off our wet clothes to sit the turf fire. We smelled his words. Perhaps he was amused with us, our country ways. If anything, we saw our dignity in our day-to-day lives, and we were so proud to know that that was us. He'd go up there on that plateau where the one tree is and sit there all day. We wondered if he really believed in fairies, or was he just saying it? My father believed he was trying to keep them all for himself, help him win some prize. Sure, we were proud of him. We didn't care about those things. He was our poet. We just wondered how he got away with those sexual poems and what his wife said. And do you remember the one about the pump? God, I almost confessed I read it to the priest, but didn't want to get him in trouble. You know, this is Ireland. I still have that book under my bed. They can find it when I'm dead. And then I'll confess at St. Peter's Gate. But that old pump was brilliant. If that's how you see the world, you say it like that and the rest of us will come along. I know he'd like to be buried under that tree, but we want him close, someplace he can always be. He was ours and we were his. We hold that plateau in reverence today, a place we can go and remember him. I have a wife now from the south of Ireland. Sure, she says, they think he's their poet too. Even down there, the likes of Cork, Seamus is theirs. So I guess we'll have to share him with the world. But if they ever saw him up there, his wild head of hair and bits of paper. Some evenings in our home, when the children are asleep, my wife gets this look in her eye, asks me to take his book out from under the bed and read that poem again.